What's up, everybody? We're back. The Portland housing market most boring show on YouTube. Myself, David Caldwell, Krista
Krista
Britton.
Britton.
We're principal real estate brokers. We're at Hillshire Realty Group with eXp Realty. And this is a monthly show where we break down what's happening in the market from our perspective, how we're working with our buyers and sellers to navigate it. And let's be real, like there is a ton of change going on in the Portland housing market. Let's also acknowledge it's been going on for months, right? We were talking about some of this stuff a year ago. So let's get into it and let's actually talk about what I always think is the single most important thing that people are concerned with. Let me share this, darn it. Here we go. Average sales price. Despite a slowing rate of sales, despite a certain amount of homes coming to the market and not selling, we actually are still seeing growth in the average sales price. And between the end of 2021 and today, we've actually seen average sales price increase 8.2%. And now that average sales price is sitting at $617,000. Now, it is important to note that's $2,200 less than the same time last month. So the average sales price last month was $619,200, but today it's $617,000. Now, we're not really big on month over month increases or decreases in reporting that. If we go look at 2021 appreciation was not a straight line up. There were many months where the average sales price was higher, and then this average sales price was lower. It was higher, then it was lower on a month over basis. What's important to watch, in my opinion, is what's the year over year trend? What's happening there? And that's strong. And, Krista, we ask this question all the time. If you're a home seller, are you going to judge the strength of the real estate market based on average days on market or a high average sales price?
Oh, sales price. I want that money.
Everyone wants that money. And most sellers want to sell. They don't have to. That's why you're seeing so many homes being taken off the market in Portland right now. So we're having a lot of homes come to the market, but we're having a lot of homes come off the market. So let's find my next slide and let's talk about what's happening with new listings. So new listings decreased from September 2021. They decreased from August. I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody. If you're watching the news right now, it kind of feels like no homes are selling. So why would I list my house for sale? What's your take on that, Krista?
It was interesting. I was talking to a potential buyer or seller yesterday. Like, right now is the worst time to list your house. Everyone's just giving their houses away right now. It's like, what? That's extreme. I was like, you literally have the most amount of equity ever in your home, but okay.
And what an interesting perspective. Everyone's giving their homes away.
Yeah.
So we'll get into what percentage of homes are actually selling and we'll debunk that. But, we're big on looking at history. When we look at the past 5 years of homes coming for sale, we're basically even with 2020, which was the COVID year, right? We're off like what would be more of a normal year, 2018, 2019, pretty significantly, more than 10%. And we're in line, second lowest year for new listings since September with COVID year. And what we've been talking about with our agents and with our customers is we are kind of treating this year like a COVID year, because the way we adjusted to COVID was that there were less showings, there were less available buyers. But we have to remember in 2020, the average sales price increased. So even though we have higher interest rates, we have less showings, we have less buyers, but we're still seeing the average sales price increase. And I think that's an important thing to note. So let's go to pendings. Let's go fast since we're so boring. I think it's this one. Okay. So pending sales decreased 36.8% from the best year of pending sales ever, right? September 2021 great year for pending sales. That's a big time decrease. But decreased 20% from August, that's more than a normal decrease that we would see. And this isn't on here, but the 2003 pending sales represent a 10-year low for the month of September. Now, Krista, we've been talking about this from an affordability standpoint. And, in the last month I had this aha that some of my opinions from 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago don't matter as much, because every time Jerome Powell speaks and the market reacts, it changes expectations because the playing field changes. And today we're sitting at 7% interest rates. And we've talked about, from an affordability standpoint, we think that really puts us at the lowest level of affordability we've had in Portland, really since like the year 2002, I think is how far we've been able to go back and track it. Oh, 2003. But that has to have an impact on pending sales. And Jerome Powell is trying to slow down the market. But you're still out selling real estate to buyers and sellers. So talk about that a little bit.
So what's interesting is with my buyers, especially, we're looking at things, but we've had to reevaluate how we're going to make offers. We've had to reevaluate price points. Houses are sitting longer, which is nice, because then we go back and look a couple times, and if it's still sitting, there's the seller's like, okay, my house, I'm going to need to take a lower offer. I might have closing costs. So things are taking a little bit longer, but they're still moving. And people who were going to buy 6 months ago are still buying. They're just having to reevaluate their offers.
Yeah. And, if we look at a historic viewpoint of pending sales, we're off big time last year. We're off, maybe call it a little bit significantly from 2020, the two really phenomenal real estate markets. But if we go back to 2018 and 2019, we're off a little bit. But we're not in this catastrophic place that it feels like we are, or sounds like we are. We just had a big adjustment, but not a crash. An adjustment from crazy, insane people standing in lines to buy your house, naming their children after you to buy your house, to now I'm going to negotiate closing costs.
Yeah.
So it's not this crazy turn in the market that it's made out to believe. I sometimes think if I walked around with a microphone and asked people if home values are up or down, they would say down, but they're not, they're up.
Oh yeah.
Can you sell your house in today's market, or can you not? You cannot. No, you can. Even though sales are at a 5-year low, and this was a bad September, which will probably lead to a bad October, and you're going to need a better agent, skilled agent, to help you navigate the market in this next coming months. There's still been over 22,000 pending sales. I mean, that's a city. That's a suburban city where everybody moved. That is a lot of people buying and selling real estate. And all those people can't be wrong. And if they were wrong, there's only 2,000 people more than markets that were right that bought houses. So, I understand what's happening in the change and why people will talk about it the way that they do. But when you really look at the statistics, it provides a lot more clarity. So let's look at closed sales, active pending sold, like we always do. And then let's talk about all this stuff, a little bit more about what it means if you're a buyer or seller. So, hey, pending sales are down, closed sales are going to be down, right? Those metrics were off from where things are normal. I don't care as much about closed sales, to be honest. I really like looking at pendings. How much do you look at the actual closed units part? Krista?
I honestly, the only time closed for me, the most important part is probably when I'm doing a listing presentation and I want to show what has actually sold and for the price it's actually sold. But even right now, that's hard because all of those sales are from previous months with lower interest rates. So that still makes it tricky. So right now it's kind of meh, it's important, but not as important.
Yeah, I think one thing that's important to talk about real quick, when you talk about those comps are a little bit less relevant because the interest rate was lower.
Mm-hmm.
There are homes that at a 3% or 4% interest rate, where the payment was $3,000, I was willing to take on the projects of your outdated house because I liked the location, or I liked the street, or it was what was available at that time because there were less options. But at 7% interest rates, where that payment's now $4,000, your house is no longer attractive to me. And those houses, the outdated ones, the ones in subpar locations, those are the ones that are taking more of a hit in this marketplace, because there's still lots of homes that are receiving multiple offers on them. The best houses in the best areas, and the best houses doesn't mean the most expensive. The best houses in the price point that you're in.
Mhm.
But let's look at just, historic view of pending sales over the last 5 years. I don't know why everyone's freaking out. I mean, take 2021 away, and it looks pretty normal.
Mhm.
It won't look normal at the end of the year because we're starting to see that slowing pace of sales. But so far, it looks normal. Months of inventory, what's really funny is when months of inventory was under 1 month, real estate couldn't shut up about it. And now it's at 2.2 months that no one really wants to talk about it, it feels like. If you're watching this, months of inventory is how long it would take at the current pace of sales for all the homes on the market to sell. And if you go research this number, this is still solidly a seller's market, which is why we're still seeing home price appreciation. We're still definitely in a seller's market, but you guys, in seller's markets, buyers have the opportunity to negotiate. So let's talk about what I need to know if I'm a buyer in this marketplace. You start. I talk a lot.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the most important thing right now is to make sure like the homes that you're looking at are in a price point where you feel comfortable with your monthly payment, right? I've had to send my buyers back to their mortgage brokers to reevaluate, because a lot of them got, it was like, 4%, 5%, even 6%. Well, that's a lot different. That's a much, especially in that, $600,000 range. That's a big jump. So that's number one thing. But we're seeing homes sitting on the market longer. So I'm like, okay, like before I would tell people, let's not look at anything above your price point. Actually, we were looking at things that were less, right? Because we're going to need to bid things up. Yeah. Well, now it's like, okay, there's a little bit more flexibility in what we're looking at because things might be sitting longer. There's more room for negotiations. Yeah. We're looking at different type, there's people are looking at ARMs. People are going to have the opportunity to refinance. So it's really, what are you comfortable with and what can we negotiate? Yeah. And I had one buyer, we went out and there's a house, and it's set at one point, it had been there for been on the market for over a month. And we made an offer, $50,000 less. They countered, they put an additional 25 on it. We came back and said, no, we're holding firm at $50,000 under. They accepted it. And then we got $15,000 in closing costs on top of that during repairs, which was crazy to me, but they were motivated to sell. They hadn't gotten any offers. It was a great home. They had redone the whole thing. They just, everyone freaked out and things slowed down, and we were able to hold firm. So I would say, don't be scared to make that offer. You don't know. You don't know their position. They might be worried as well. The worst thing people can say no or counter. It doesn't cost anything to make an offer.
Yeah, and the thing about today's market, I think one of the biggest truisms in real estate is, we find you one house you love, we're going to find you another house that you love. Mm-hmm. Like that's been true forever. I think it's always going to be true. With that being said, right? Yeah, if you miss out on a house, last month in the Portland metro area, there were 4,888 listings at one point or another, options available last month, and 2,003 went pending. Now, a lot of people took their house off the market, or they might not accept your lower offer or whatever, because most people that sell, they want to sell, they don't have to. And that's what's going to help the market stay strong. We're in a marketplace where people have low interest rates on their homes. They have lots of equity, and people don't just freely give up their equity. But some people do have enough motivation. They're willing to negotiate because they recognize they built a ton of equity and they want to access it. They can't access it unless they sell the home. But you're right. If you're a buyer, you need to know you have options. You need to know that you can negotiate. You need to know that there's loan programs out there that you can buy down rates, etc. Here's something that's really interesting. Since May, and the market's been adjusting since before May through October, in area 151, as described by RMLS, this would be Tiger, Tualatin, Sherwood, Wilsonville. So big area. It's a total of 1,200 home sales. The average home still sold at 1% above its list price. But at this time last year, the average home was selling at 5% above the list price. So we're not in a marketplace where you're getting lowball offers, right? If you're a seller, you're not getting these lowball offers when we're talking about negotiating. But there is a high probability your house might not sell. But buyers, you need to know that if you were waiting last year for options, your options are here. And I don't think a low interest rate was ever a reason, a compelling reason to buy a house. We talked about that last year. I don't think, a 7% or 6% interest rate is a reason to completely outright reject a house you're going to buy if you can afford it and you love it. And know that most likely over the 10-year period that you own that home, because most people own a home for 10 years on average, you're going to have a refinance opportunity. Let's go sellers real quick, and then let's say goodbye. What do you need to know if you're a seller, Krista?
So if you're a seller, you need to prep your home. You can't just throw it on the market and be like, here you go. You need to have it. You need to have it ready. Like David says, you only have one opportunity to make a first impression. So coming in and decluttering and doing the maintenance items, getting the roof cleaned, having the yard ready. All of those things are really, really important because that's going to be what everybody sees. And with there being more homes on the market, you have more competition. So you need to stand out, right? You need to be the winner of that beauty pageant. So, and the other thing is price.
It's hard to win a beauty pageant when you have a black eye.
Yeah. And price. If you do not price your home correctly, people are you're going to get passed over. So having your home ready to view and price, and having a realistic expectation of what's going on in the market. Now, that doesn't mean accepting any lowball offer that comes at you, but you need to be educated and know what's going on, and specifically in your area with your home. And that's where a real estate professional comes in that should be telling you these things so you know what's going on.
Yeah. I had someone the other day ask me if I was licensed or if I could sell commercial real estate. And I said, well, yeah, I could, but I don't, because we don't do those transactions and we're not well versed in them. Yeah. And what our team is super focused on, why we do videos like this, why we do all the other videos on our channel, is we're focused on educating our consumer, because we're not in control of the market. Our job is to help our clients understand the market and compete in the market, negotiate on their behalf, help them get to the finish line, right? It's not about the comp down the street always. We don't know the circumstances of that sale. What Chris is talking about, being prepared today is very important, being priced correctly. Well, how do you price? The average agent in Portland doesn't know the average sales price. How do they know how to price a house? What are the trends, right? You know what goes up and down in Portland? Not home values, demand. There are trends on when demand is high for specific houses and when demand is low for specific houses. And you have to look at history to see it. A lot of times people go, gosh, where do you get this information? We have spreadsheets we built. We have things we get out of our MLS, but most importantly, we look for it and we've learned it so we can teach it and educate our clients. And that's why we sell, we've sold over 100 homes this year. It's why we sell a lot of real estate and have a lot of really happy clients. What I want to end with is, if you're a home seller, you might think you can't sell your house in today's market. And that's most likely wrong. The average sales price is really, let's just call it what it almost is, an all-time high. It's $2,200 lower than the all-time high average sales price. But at the end of the year, we're going to be more expensive than we were last year. which in my opinion makes 2022 a better year to be a home seller than 2021. Maybe not for everybody, but for the average person, right? If your house is below average condition, below average location, maybe you missed the market a little bit. Maybe it's still a good time to sell because maybe next year is going to be even tougher. We don't have a lot of years of 8% appreciation. I'm guessing we're probably going to end the year somewhere around like 5 or 6% appreciation, which is a killer year. It's a great year. This has not been a bad year for real estate. So if you have any questions, you can get a hold of us at Krista@HillshireRealtyGroup.com, David@HillshireRealtyGroup.com, hello@HillshireRealtyGroup.com. In the description below, there's more of our contact information. You guys, we're easy to find. Let us know if you have any questions. Subscribe, notification bell, leave us a comment. If you want us to do videos about Beaverton or Lake Oswego or Sherwood or Tigard or just your area specifically, let us know. We're happy to do it. Anything else, Krista?
No, I think you covered it. Thanks, you guys. If you listen to the whole thing, I am impressed.